My name is Sarah. I'm 34 years old. And last Friday night, I sat in a dark parking lot watching my husband walk into a hotel with another woman. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. My breath came in short, uneven gasps. I had been married to Mark for 8 years. 8 years of morning coffee together, of inside jokes, of a life I thought was unbreakable. 8 years of building a home, raising a daughter, making plans for a future I never doubted for a single second. And in one single moment, watching him hold open a hotel door for a woman whose face I couldn't even see, I felt all of it crumble like sand through my fingers. But I didn't confront him. I didn't run inside. I didn't scream his name. Instead, I made a phone call that changed everything. And what I learned that night didn't destroy my marriage. It saved it. Before I tell you what really happened, take a moment to like and subscribe to this channel. Tell me in the comments, would you have followed him inside? Would you have knocked on that door? Or would you have done what I did and called someone first? Now, let me tell you the truth. It didn't start at the hotel. It started 3 months earlier, in the small, almost invisible moments that I dismissed as nothing. The kind of moments you notice, but don't really notice. The kind that slip past you because you're too comfortable, too trusting, too sure that your life is exactly what it appears to be. Mark started coming home late from work. Nothing dramatic at first, 20 minutes, then 30, then an hour. When I asked, he said, "Projects are piling up." He said it with such ease, such natural confidence, that I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He had never given me a reason to doubt him. Not once in 8 years. But then came the phone calls he started taking in the other room. The way he would excuse himself from the dinner table, phone already in his hand, saying, "Work thing. I'll be right back." And he would disappear into the home office for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, speaking in a voice too low for me to hear through the closed door. Then came the way he turned his screen away when I walked past. A small tilt of the phone. Nothing obvious. But I noticed. I always noticed. Then came the new cologne. I remember the day I first smelled it. He came home from work, kissed my cheek, and something was different. Something was new. When I asked him about it, he said, "Oh, someone at the office had a sample. Thought I'd try it." He shrugged like it meant nothing. But I knew Mark. He had worn the same cologne since our wedding day. He wasn't the kind of man who tried samples from coworkers. I told myself I was being paranoid. We had been married for 8 years. We had a beautiful daughter, Lily, who just turned 6. She had his eyes, his laugh, his stubborn way of crossing his arms when she didn't get what she wanted. We weren't the couple who fell apart over a late meeting and a new bottle of cologne. We were the strong ones. The ones who made it. But something was different. And I could feel it in my bones. Have you ever had that feeling? That quiet, creeping sensation that something is wrong even when everything looks fine? It doesn't scream at you. It whispers. It sits in the back of your mind while you're making dinner, while you're reading bedtime stories, while you're falling asleep next to someone who feels, suddenly, like a stranger wearing a familiar face. That was my life for 3 months. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Lily was asleep. Mark and I were sitting on the couch, a movie playing that neither of us was watching. I muted the television, turned to face him, and asked him straight, "Mark, is everything okay between us?" He looked at me for a long moment. His green eyes, the same eyes I had fallen in love with a decade ago, studied my face like he was trying to read something hidden there. Then he smiled. That same smile he gave me at our wedding. That same smile he gave me when Lily was born. That same smile that had always made me feel safe. "Everything is perfect," he said. "I love you more than anything. You know that, right?" His eyes didn't look like a liar's eyes. And that's what scared me the most. Because if he was hiding something, he was hiding it beautifully. Effortlessly. And that meant whatever it was big. It was something he had practiced. Something he had prepared for. Something he was willing to protect at any cost, including the cost of looking me in the eyes and lying to my face. I didn't sleep well that night. I lay awake watching the ceiling, listening to his breathing, wondering what secrets were hiding behind those closed eyelids. Was he dreaming about her? Did he think about her when he was lying next to me? Did he compare us? Did he regret marrying me? These questions ate at me like acid. And still, I said nothing. Last Friday, everything changed. It was a normal evening. Lily was at the kitchen table coloring a picture of a cat, her 5th cat picture that week, each one more purple than the last. I was standing at the stove stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce, the same sauce my mother taught me to make, the same sauce Mark had asked for on our first date. The kitchen smelled like garlic and oregano and home. Mark came downstairs at 7:15 p.m. He was wearing his best suit, the navy blue one I had bought him for our anniversary. His hair was freshly cut. His shoes were shined. And he was wearing that cologne again. "Work dinner," he said, kissing my forehead. "Don't wait up." I smiled. I said, "Have a good night." I didn't mean it. The door closed. I heard his car start in the driveway. I stood there at the stove for a full minute, wooden spoon frozen in my hand, watching the sauce bubble and pop. Something inside me was screaming. Not words. Just noise. Just a primal, urgent alarm telling me that if I let him drive away, I might never get the answers I needed. I turned off the stove. I grabbed my coat. I put Lily in the car with her tablet and a blanket and her stuffed rabbit, the one she couldn't sleep without. She asked where we were going. I told her we were going on an adventure. She believed me. 6-year-olds still believe their mothers. And I followed him. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a restaurant. Maybe his office. Maybe somewhere familiar, somewhere that would make me feel stupid for doubting him. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to see him walk into a steakhouse with his coworkers and laugh and tell jokes and come home smelling like wine and business deals. I wanted to feel like a fool. But that's not what happened. He drove for 37 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on my dashboard tick forward, minute by agonizing minute. He drove across town, past the nice neighborhoods we could never afford, through streets I didn't recognize, past a pawn shop and a laundromat and a church with a broken sign. Then he pulled into the parking lot of a hotel I had never seen before. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't the kind of place you took someone for a romantic weekend. It was the kind of hotel that rented rooms by the hour to people who didn't want to be seen. The sign was flickering. The parking lot was cracked and stained. There was a man smoking outside the entrance, leaning against the wall like he had nowhere else to be. I parked across the street, far enough that he wouldn't notice, close enough that I could see everything. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. And then I watched him walk inside. He wasn't alone. A woman walked in beside him. She was younger than me. Pretty. She was wearing a blue dress, the kind of dress you wear when you want to be noticed. Her hair was long and dark, falling over her shoulders. She was laughing at something he said, her head tilted back, her smile bright and easy. He held the door for her. He placed his hand on her lower back as they walked toward the elevator. I stopped breathing. For 10 seconds, maybe longer, I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't feel anything except this hollow, expanding nothingness in my chest. It was like someone had reached inside me and pulled out everything that mattered, everything that made me who I was, and left only this empty, aching shell. He was cheating. 8 years. Our daughter. Our home. Our life. And he was checking into a hotel with another woman on a Friday night while I sat in a dark car across the street with our 6-year-old in the back seat. My first instinct was to run inside. To scream. To pound on every door until I found him and make him look me in the eyes and tell me why. Why her? Why no? Why wasn't I enough? But I didn't. Because my second instinct, the one that surprised me, was to call someone first. Not my mother. Not my sister. Not my best friend who would have driven across town with a baseball bat and a plan. I called his mother. I don't know why. Maybe because I needed someone to tell me I was wrong. Maybe because I needed someone who knew him better than I did to say, there's an explanation. There has to be. She picked up on the third ring. He's at a hotel, I whispered, my voice cracking. With another woman. There was silence on the other end of the line. Not shocked silence. Not confused silence. It was the silence of someone who already knew something. The silence of someone who had been waiting for this phone call. The silence of someone who had been dreading it. Sarah, my mother-in-law said finally. Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes from practice, from preparing yourself for something terrible. Where are you right now? In the parking lot across from the hotel. What do I do? Do I go in? Do I confront them? Do I? Don't, she said. Don't go inside. I froze. What? You're only seeing half of what's happening, she said quietly. Her voice was steady, but there was something underneath it, something fragile, something close to breaking. And if you walk through that door right now, you will destroy something that took years to build. You will destroy something that isn't yours to destroy. I didn't understand. My husband was in a hotel room with another woman. His own mother knew about it. And she was telling me not to react? He's never lied to you, she continued. Not about what matters. Not about you. Not about your marriage. But there are things he couldn't tell you. Things that weren't his to share. Things he promised to protect. Whose were they? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. There was a long pause. The woman in that room is not his mistress, my mother-in-law said softly. She's my daughter. I blinked. The words didn't make sense. They bounced off my brain like stones skipping across water, refusing to sink in. You're, what? His sister, Sarah. The sister you never met. The one we thought we lost 22 years ago. The world tilted. Mark had a sister. A sister no one ever mentioned. A sister whose name I had never heard in 8 years of marriage. 8 years of holidays and birthdays and family dinners, and not once, not a single time, had anyone said her name. She ran away when she was 17, my mother-in-law continued, her voice breaking for the first time. I had never heard this woman cry before. She was always so composed, so put together, the kind of mother who organized family reunions and remembered everyone's birthday. But now her voice was cracking like old paint. We didn't know where she went. We didn't know if she was alive. For 2 decades, we searched. We prayed. We mourned. And then 3 months ago, Mark found her. Living 2 states away in a small apartment with no heat. Struggling. Sick. Alone. 3 months ago, I whispered. The same 3 months Mark started coming home late. The same 3 months he started taking calls in the other room. The same 3 months he started wearing that new cologne his sister had bought him as a gift when they reunited. A small token from a woman who had nothing left to give. She didn't want to see us at first, my mother-in-law said. She was ashamed. Angry. She thought we had forgotten her, abandoned her, chosen to erase her from our lives. But Mark never stopped looking. He found her apartment after hiring 3 different private investigators over the years. He sat outside her building for 3 nights before she agreed to talk to him. 3 nights, Sarah. In his car. In the cold. Waiting for his little sister to forgive him for something that wasn't his fault. What was wrong with her? I asked. A long pause. So long I thought the call had dropped. She's dying, Sarah. Stage 4. Terminal. The doctors gave her 6 months. That was 4 months ago. My hand flew to my mouth. And she didn't want us to watch, my mother-in-law said. She wanted to disappear quietly, the way she had always disappeared. But Mark refused to let her go alone. He told her, you left us once. I'm not letting you leave again. I sat there in that dark parking lot, phone pressed to my ear, tears streaming down my face, and I realized something. I had been wrong about everything. I got out of the car. Not to scream. Not to fight. I walked into that hotel lobby, my legs still shaking, my heart still pounding, but the anger was gone. It had evaporated the moment I heard the words stage 4. The moment I understood that my husband hadn't been lying to me. He had been protecting everyone he loved from a pain he couldn't control. In its place was something I didn't expect. Shame. Not because I had followed him, but because for 3 months, while my husband was quietly, desperately trying to save his dying sister's life, I had been building a case against him in my head. I had turned his grief into suspicion, his love into betrayal, his sacrifice into sin. I had made his suffering about me. I walked down the hotel hallway, past room after room, until I found the number my mother-in-law had given me. Room 312. I knocked. The door opened. And standing there was the woman in the blue dress. Up close, I could see her face clearly now. She was younger than me, yes, 32, I would learn later. But pale. Tired. There were dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. There were tubes taped to her arm, hidden under the sleeve of a cardigan she had pulled on over her dress. Medical tape. The kind they used to keep IVs in place. Her eyes were Mark's eyes. The same green. The same shape. The same gentle way of looking at the world, as if they were searching for something good in everyone they met. "You must be Sarah," she said softly. Her voice was thin, worn, like a record that had been played too many times. "Mark talks about you constantly." He showed me pictures of Lily. "She's beautiful." Behind her, I saw my husband sitting on the edge of the hotel bed. His eyes were red. His face was wet. He had been crying. He looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time in months, there was no distance between us. No secrets. No walls. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to say, my sister is dying and I've been spending every spare moment with her because I'm running out of time. I didn't know how to make you understand without breaking your heart." I walked past the woman in the blue dress, past Mark's sister, whose name was Chloe, and I sat down next to my husband on the edge of that cheap hotel bed. "Tell me everything," I said. And he did. He told me about the night Chloe ran away. She was 17, pregnant, terrified. Our parents were strict, not cruel, but strict. She believed they would disown her if they found out. So she packed a bag in the middle of the night and walked out the door. She was 3 months pregnant. She had $200 in her pocket and nowhere to go. He told me about the decades of silence that followed. The birthdays without her. The holidays where her chair sat empty. The way his mother would sometimes set an extra plate at the table, just in case. He told me about the private investigators he hired with his own money, year after year, following dead ends and false leads. The money he saved from bonuses and side jobs, all of it funneled into finding a sister who didn't want to be found. He told me about the call that came 3 months ago. A private investigator in Nevada had found a woman matching Chloe's description. She was living in a rundown apartment complex outside Reno. She was sick. She was alone. And she had finally stopped running. He told me about finding her. About sitting outside her apartment for 3 nights, not knowing if she would open the door or call the police. About the moment she finally appeared in the doorway, older, thinner, her hair gray before its time, and said, "You found me." He told me about the diagnosis. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Terminal. 6 months to live, maybe less. The doctors had given her options: chemo, radiation, clinical trials, but none of them would save her. They would only buy her more time. Time she wasn't sure she wanted. And he told me why he couldn't tell me. "Because I was afraid you'd hate me for keeping her a secret," he said. "And I was afraid you'd leave if you knew how broken my family really was. I was afraid that once you saw the cracks, you wouldn't be able to unsee them." I looked at Chloe. She was crying silently, tears sliding down her pale cheeks. And in that moment, I realized something that changed me forever. My husband hadn't been lying to me. He had been protecting everyone he loved from a pain he couldn't control. He had been carrying this weight alone because he didn't want to burden me. He had been suffering in silence because he thought that's what strong men do. He was wrong. But so was I. There was that night I didn't go home angry. We ordered room service, the 3 of us, and we stayed up until 3 a.m., talking, crying, laughing at old stories, grieving the years we lost. Chloe showed me pictures of her life, the jobs she worked, the cities she lived in, the people she loved and lost. She told me about her son, the baby she was carrying when she ran away. He was 17 now, living with his father in Oregon. He didn't know she was sick. She didn't know how to tell him. I watched my husband hold his sister's hand like he was afraid she might disappear again. And I watched Chloe look at her brother like he had saved her life. Because he had. Not just by finding her, but by refusing to let her face the end alone. Chloe passed away 6 weeks after that night in the hotel. But she didn't die alone in a cold apartment in Nevada. She died surrounded by family. By her brother. By me. By our daughter Lily, who called her Aunt Chloe and didn't understand why everyone was crying. By her son, who flew in from Oregon and held her hand during her final hours. In her final days, Chloe wrote letters to each of us. Mine said, Thank you for not knocking on that door with your fists. Thank you for walking through it with your heart open. Thank you for loving my brother when I couldn't be there to love him myself. I keep that letter in my nightstand. I read it when I forget that love is not about knowing every answer. It's about trusting that the people we love are doing their best with the weight they carry. It's about giving them the grace to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to protect us from truths we aren't ready to hear. Our marriage didn't just survive that night. It became stronger. Because I learned something important. Something I didn't know I needed to learn. Sometimes the thing that looks like betrayal is actually the deepest act of love you've never understood. Sometimes the person you're about to destroy with your accusation is the very same person who has been quietly, silently, heroically holding everything together while you weren't looking. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you make the phone call that stops you from walking through the wrong door. My name is Sarah. I am 34 years old. Last Friday, I almost destroyed my marriage because I only saw half the truth. But I made one phone call. I waited. I listened. And what I learned didn't break me. It set me free. If you're watching this and you're standing in your own parking lot right now, confused, hurt, convinced that someone you love has betrayed you, I want you to remember this story. Don't react. Don't knock down the door with your fists. Make the call. Wait for the answer. Ask the questions that scare you. Because the truth is almost always bigger than what your fear wants you to believe. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share your own story in the comments. Have you ever misunderstood someone you love? Have you ever seen half the truth and almost made a terrible mistake? I read every single one. Until next time, remember, the truth is patient. It will wait for you to be ready to see it.